Broadcasting live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Here's your host, Andrew Romanella.
Okay? Like, just get the hell out of here. Nobody cares what you think if you're not a Mets fan.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into a Wednesday edition of the Rome Show, broadcasting live on YouTube, Twitter, X, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm your host, Andrew Romanella. We got you for the next 30 minutes. It's an early broadcast today on a Wednesday because we have an exciting time after the show, at least for me. I'm super excited. We'll get into that in a second. Before we do, though, we give you the pleasantries. Romanella's on YouTube. That's youtube.com/the Romanellas. Head there. We urge you to hit subscribe, like the show, share it with a friend. The Rome Show 1 on Twitter, X, and Instagram. That's the Rome Show, then the number 1. That's on Twitter, X, and Instagram. You can catch the show live on both, comment live on both, then facebook.com/the Rome Show. It's a hump day, which is not normally the day we're joined by Rocky Romanella, but today is the day we're joined by Rocky. So he's got a special Wednesday appearance for us. We got to talk Quinn Hughes to Minnesota. We need to talk Jari and Skinner goaltending trade in net. Leon Draisaitl broke some records last night, which we'll talk about. And then, of course, Rocky has his list of on-ice topics that he wants to get to. Before we start on the ice, we go to the hardwood, because last night the New York Knicks defeated the San Antonio Spurs in the third NBA Cup by a score of 124-113. Here's what the celly looked like.
Look at this. This is incredible.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. And Dwayne Wade was talking about it on the broadcast. You see the guys come flying off the bench. You see excitement. A minute to go in that game. They were up by 8. They secured the basketball, and you saw all the dudes on the end of the bench getting all excited. And outside of the fact that you're playing a really good San Antonio Spurs team, which, by the way, is a legitimate contender. That's what I learned over the last few days. And not just because they were the second team this season to defeat the Oklahoma City Thunder in the semifinals of the NBA Cup. No, because with Castle and Wembanyama and Fox and the cast that they have, this is a really good basketball team. They have the weapons on offense to go up and down the floor and play an up-paced tempoed game. They do have the ability to slow the game down and play a legitimate half-court offense. They can beat you 13 different ways, and they have a 7-footer who can hit threes on his best day like Steph Curry. That's how good this dude is. He is at 7 feet running the floor. Alley-oops from 5 feet away from the rim. A step back from 23.5 feet. Drain up. This Spurs team, what they've been building the last 3 or 4 years since the end of the Greg Popovich era, is about to be dangerous. And outside of watching that NBA Cup Finals last night and saying, hey, man, this could be an NBA Finals preview. This could be what we have waiting for us at the end of the season. I understand in a 7-game series what's going to happen to defeat the Oklahoma City Thunder. I completely get how good Nikola Jokic has won a championship before, and the Denver Nuggets can be in the postseason. We haven't even mentioned Anthony Edwards yet in that Western Conference conversation. How about Luka and the Lakers? And so the list goes on. But what you witnessed last night was a legitimate battle for what could be the NBA championship come April. And a few things caught my eye. First, because the game was broadcasted on Amazon, Stan Van Gundy and Dwayne Wade were electric. I could listen to a basketball broadcast with D. Wade and Van Gundy all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. That was awesome. True, great commentating. So kudos to the Amazon team, because that made the game that much more fun to watch. The Knicks fans traveled. That's for damn sure. We mentioned yesterday on the Rome Show podcast, wherever you get your podcast if you want to re-listen, that the NBA is now making a change from going to Las Vegas in the quarter, semis, and finals because of the fan engagement, the crowd excitement, and bringing it back to the team's home court. So that game last night, I believe, would have been played at MSG because the Knicks were the home team on the sheet. Well, the Knicks fans traveled. That's for damn sure. And the environment last night I thought was really good. And I think some of that, and we're not going to go fully down this road, it just takes time to get there. You had to prove to people that the NBA Cup was worth it. You had to prove to people that it was worth it to spend money to go to Las Vegas to watch this game. And it has become worth it. $500,000 to each winner of that tournament for the minimum contract guy, for the two-way contract guy, for the 8th, 9th, 10th man guy. That is ridiculously important money for them and their families. Jalen Brunson spoke to ESPN after the game and said that he was going to be giving his winnings to the training staff and support team of the New York Knicks. That is first-class superstardom right there. Jalen Brunson is the exact example of what you want your superstars to look like. Maybe he doesn't need the $500,000, but he played his tail off, won the MVP as he should have, and is now going to give that money back to the people that deserve it. A few things to finish. I learned that both of these teams can compete for an NBA championship this year, and I would not be surprised if we see the Knicks and the Spurs in their conferences' respective finals when all is said and done. Western Conference and Eastern Conference finals. I learned that the Spurs, though can be a contender, need to keep working on closing games. They gave up an 8-0 run in the midst of, I think it was a 12-0 run across the end of the third, the beginning of the fourth quarter, but an 8-0 run to start the fourth quarter. That gave the Knicks the lead, and then the Knicks did not look back from there. The Knicks outscored the Spurs 16 points in the fourth quarter and overall scored 55 in the second half. Okay. So that final 10, final 15 defense for the Spurs to close it out. This is how we win basketball games. That's going to have to be something that they work on. And on the flip side, the Karl Anthony Towns, Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges experiment, plus the other riches they have around in Jordan Clarkson and the like, this is working out, okay? I know it felt a little bleak for Knicks fans when they fired their head coach last year after going to the Eastern Conference Finals, and it didn't look like they were going to have a great hire. And you hire Mike Brown, no disrespect to him. He's clearly doing a great job and is clearly a solid head basketball coach, but you didn't feel that excited. Well, now, 25 games into the season, sitting at 19-7. Well, technically 18-7 because the cup games don't count towards the record. You got to feel really good about this New York Knicks team. Before we go to the commercial break here, the current standings in the NBA are as such. The Detroit Pistons are the leader in the Eastern Conference by 2.5 games over the aforementioned New York Knicks. The Knicks are 3 games up on the third place Toronto Raptors and 3.5 games up on the 4th place Boston Celtics. In the Western Conference, the Oklahoma City Thunder still lead the way with a 24-2 record. In 2nd place is Denver at 19-6, and in 3rd place / 4th place at 18-7 is the Lakers and the Spurs tied. Game behind them, the Rockets, and a game and a half behind them, the Timberwolves. So as you can see, as we mentioned earlier, a tight race in the Western Conference, but the NBA is winning with the NBA Cup. Adam Silver did a fantastic job with what he was trying to get accomplished with the NBA Cup. It's exciting. It's engaging. The players care about it. The fans are starting to care about it. Hell, the broadcast teams are starting to care about it. Media's covering it the right way. This is a 1,000% win for the NBA. And myself and anyone else that crushed it I'm going to go back and look actually, but anyone that crushed this, and maybe rightfully so, should be walking those words back now, because it's clear and obvious as of watching what I watched last night that the NBA has definitely found something to reinvigorate their regular season. Hopefully you don't need a reinvigoration here on the Rome Show on a day. We get to be joined by the hockey expert of all hockey experts, especially on the Rome Show Network. One Rocky Romanella, a minute and 10 seconds away from dropping the knowledge you've been waiting for all week. Stick with us here on the Rome Show. Back after this.
What is one thing every great leader has in common? They challenge their people to not stop at the first right answer. Tighten the Lug Nuts is a leadership book that will teach you how to move past the first right answer with entertaining and detailed examples founded in real-world concepts and experiences. Accelerate towards your professional goals with Tighten the Lug Nuts, one of the best leadership books available.
Now, inside the glass, hockey with Rocky.
Let's go. What's going on, everyone? We are going to light the lamp here on a Wednesday. How we doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How you doing on this hump day?
Wow. I tell you what, I was getting prepped. There was a lot that happened since I was here last week.
A lot. And it's only been 7 days per the calendar. But in the National Hockey League, it feels like I've watched 6 months of an off season, 6 months of a regular season, 6 months of some other guy's rehab, and then 6 months of us failing at getting ready for international hockey. It's wild.
Yeah, I didn't even click on the update in Italy because it's just not worth it. I saw a picture. There wasn't even a roof on the stadium. I was like, is this an outdoor rink? Like, what's happening?
I didn't know that the Olympics was turning into the stadium series. That's crazy.
I mean, it was pretty great idea, though. I mean, down the road, because we've got probably have the Olympics picked for the next 35 years. We could probably start construction today.
Yeah, that's a wild concept. Well, with what you stated is very true. We got 2 major trades that I know we need to talk about. And there was a record-breaking night for one of the Edmonton Oilers as well. So those are the 3 that I would like to get into. So you pick your a la carte here.
Those 3 are on the rundown. So let me go through the rundown and then we'll talk those 3. And then I have a closing. I have a final kind of a rant. I think you'll like it.
All right.
I think it's going to make you laugh.
So you better stay with us till 6:55, because at 6:55 to close the show, Rocky will be ranting. Let's do it.
All righty. Turn on the extreme hockey music. All right, here we go. On the rundown, I'm going to hit you with what happened notable to me the last week. Also, I'm going to pick one team from each division that I think that you should keep your eyes on.
So one might say you'll be rock solid on those teams?
Well, it's more of an update, but yes, I think it's also a revisit. So Speaking of rock solid, rock soft, we will start in the Pacific Division, who Rocky was rock solid on the Edmonton Oilers being able to figure out, and look where they stand, number third in the Pacific Division, exactly where they should be, chasing the top of that division. All eyes on the Minnesota Wild, 5 wins in a row, and they are looking as dominant as the Stars and Avalanche, and those three teams are just electric. If you want to see goals, watch those three teams. In the Metropolitan, unfortunately, I have to pay attention to the Philadelphia Flyers, which just pains me to say. Trevor Zegras has had like 5 points in the last 4 games, and they find themselves locking a playoff spot if the playoffs start at 50 games early. And I can only help but cheer for the Patrick Kane-led Detroit Red Wings, who now sit atop of the Eastern Conference in the Atlantic. So those are the 4 teams I wanted to pay attention to. In Buffalo, Western New York, Kevin Adams fired as
Goodbye.
the GM. Jarmo Kakalainen, have
Say that
fun
name.
spelling that one, takes over as GM. He was hired as the special assistant advisor to Kevin Adams at the beginning of the season. So his report says this guy should be gone. Rasmus Dahlin, captain, and Tage Thompson, 8 seasons in Buffalo, the core of the people who need to take that team from terrible to
Yeah.
great, have also, in my opinion, not looked the best. And hold on, these are all my stuff on the trades. Nick Saban and Joe Agresti purchase a minority stake in the Nashville Predators, and all want and hope say kick the fan ownership to the side, let Nick Saban fix the organization so that we can see Nashville back in the Stanley Cup playoffs, because Broadway on hockey night in the playoffs,
Dude.
there's nothing like it.
Nothing. There's nothing like it. If you have not watched a hockey game, there'd be 2 places I'd tell you right now that you need to go watch a hockey game, and no, not one of them is MSG. You need to go to the Las Vegas Golden Knights, and you need to go to the Nashville Predators. If you could only choose 2 games to go to in the National Hockey League, my choice, Rocky, Las Vegas and Nashville. Got to do it.
Gotta do it. And the final piece of the rundown actually comes with a yeehaw, as I will be referencing the roundup in the summertime. Big news as Michael Jordan and 2311 Racing win the NASCAR lawsuit and settlement. Teams will have their charters. People are about to get paid.
Stick it
And
to the
it
man.
all came out that the legacy racing teams, the old school people, were actually all in agreement with Jordan and Denny Hamlin. Even though they were beating Denny Hamlin on the track, they supported him in the courtroom because it made them more money. Go NASCAR. And
Well,
I've got the trades ready to go.
As we know, Denny Hamlin has been beating himself on the track. So no one else really needed to do anything else. Him and his crew chief did that for themselves, not winning that championship.
Unfortunately, they did, but Jordan backs him up, and now they're all getting paid, and they're all going to have share of the media rights, and everyone gets charters to have a race team in every race.
That
Go NASCAR.
is an electric rundown out of you, Rocky. Every week we get the Rockies rundown, both in the National Hockey League and beyond. I would like to start in a place that is going to bring us some fun conversation really quickly, because last night, Rocky, Leon Draisaitl scored his 1,000th point in the National Hockey League. He became the 103rd player in NHL history to record his 1,000th point. But furthermore, in the current active state of National Hockey League, he's the 4th fastest, as the list is on your screen right now. Also on the Rome Show 1, Twitter, X, and Instagram, if you'd like to repost and share with your friends. Rocky, what type of milestone is this for Leon Draisaitl, A, but also B, how wild is it to think that you have the number 1 active player and the number 4 active player on your roster in Edmonton?
Well, look at number 2 and number 5, and you're saying the same thing as Pittsburgh. The difference
That's
between
ridiculous.
the difference between the two is 3 Stanley Cups between Crosby and Malkin, and 0 Stanley Cups between McDavid and Draisaitl. And at this time in Crosby and Malkin's careers is when they were winning their Stanley Cup. So I do think, right, the cup, this is in this scenario, this is where number of championships conversation in NBA kind of bleeds in the NHL. It doesn't really translate, but in this case, you're looking at these top five, it absolutely does. And by the way, number three also has two Stanley Cups.
Oh yeah, and he might. I think I've decided be my favorite player. That's not a New Jersey Devil in National Hockey League history. I mean
I
that
mean,
honestly.
what a great selection. I think the one statistic that I love about Draisaitl's 1,000 points, um, and it's actually one you didn't say, which I was surprised, but the first German-born player in the NHL to hit 1,000 points. So
Wow,
shout out
good
to
for
Europe.
him. Shout out to Europe, Rocky. Can you spell Drysital?
I can because I'm looking at it on the screen.
Oh man, I got to be honest. I should have started there because last night the amount of times I was making that social media post, like I definitely spelled this wrong. This name is tough, dude.
Oh, it's
Not
yeah. Listen, there's a couple names I ran through actually a couple weeks ago. I was like, oh, we should do a spelling. We got to do a spelling segment here pretty soon.
that's absolutely what we need to do. You mentioned the three Stanley Cups, excuse me, for the teammates of Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby on that active 1,000 point scorer list. A lot of the reason people seem to believe why Draisaitl and Connor McDavid and Hyman and these talented dudes in Edmonton don't have a cup is because of their goaltending situation. Well, the front office handled that the other day, Rocky, by trading Stuart Skinner to the Pittsburgh Penguins in exchange for Tristan Jarry. Can you start to break down that trade? And I don't know if you saw what happened the other night when they played each other, besides the fact that
Absolute, absolute tragedy as the entire team's off the bench celebrating Draisaitl's 1,000th point, literally next to Skinner in a
oh,
Pittsburgh Penguins crease
unreal. And then
against Skinner.
if you didn't see the picture, it's on your screen now. Tristan Jarry wearing the Oilers sweater, but the Pittsburgh Penguins goaltender helmet, and the flip side for Stuart Skinner wearing the Penguins jersey and the Oilers helmet. How about that visual, Rocky? That's crazy.
First, visually, it's just what if you ever wanted to understand the business of professional sports, this is the image that
Here it is.
should this is the image,
Yeah.
right? Like you don't have like when people are like, "Oh, I want to be a professional athlete. Life is so easy. I make all this money." Like talk about the mental strength you need to show up in that hockey game.
Yep.
Number one, and then number two, like essentially, I mean, essentially everyone believes it's a win for the Oilers.
Oh yeah.
And everyone believes it's not necessarily. I mean, it's not necessarily a loss for the Penguins. It's probably a good move if defenseman Brett Kulak turns out to be a pretty good pick, and the guy they gave up in the American Hockey League isn't much. But ultimately, what you're looking at is like a guy that needed a change of scenery. You can't say he's terrible. You can't say he's the reason. Even though everyone does. Right. And by the way, your eye test says he probably had something to do with their inability to win games deep into the playoffs. But at the same time, essentially like, hey, a new sheet of ice might help us out, might help this guy out, but ultimately, like Tristan Jarry might help us out, win a couple of games deep in the playoffs. And I think on both sides of the coin, it made sense. It's a tough visual, for each of those guys, and you can say what you want about how it really went down.
I agree. Tristan Jarry, I think, is the winner for the Oilers here. 10-3-1 this season with a 2.69 goals against average, 908 save percentage. Now, if you're wondering why have I not heard enough about Tristan Jarry, he's kind of been the backup in Pittsburgh since 2016, 2017, playing as many as 53 games in one season. He had a 4-year stint there where he probably played in almost half the team's games, a little bit behind Marc-Andre Fleury and some others, but this has been a Cam Talbot is the best reference I can make, Rocky, type goaltender in the National Hockey League, where we'll see what happens when he's the number one guy.
Well, yeah, no doubt. And Cam Talbot's historically, in my opinion, always gotten the short end of the stick as the starter. I think right now he's in a really nice moment where it's like, no, Cam Talbot's the guy, and they shouldn't really replace him. But Tristan Jarry kind of gets the tap, like, hey, come anchor a team and go prove your worth as a true number one, which is what a great position to be in. And for the Edmonton Oilers. I mean, I don't know how you couldn't have asked for a better position for that guy.
You couldn't have asked for a better trade, I think, available in the National Hockey League. Speaking of better trade, if you're sitting in Minnesota right now, Rocky, you are amped about what your team currently looks like with the addition of Quinn Hughes to go along with one of the better players in the league who you re-signed last year in Kaprizov. So talk to us about Vancouver sending one of the best defensemen in the league to Minnesota and the ripple effect of that.
Bill Guerin, GM of the Minnesota Wild, high five to you. He is in a burn the boats style mode when it comes to Minnesota getting into the Stanley Cup final. It is a 26-year-old franchise. By the way, I found a picture from when I went to one of the Dallas Stars games or that played in Minnesota in the interim year when they were getting ready for the Wild to come to town
Wow.
from when we lived in Iowa. Crazy.
Wow. That is
Anyways,
wild.
side note. I was with Casey uh
Play the
Casey
guitar
Hooper.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Casey Hooper. Anyways, what a great trade by Bill Guerin. He trades a couple of young pieces away. But between Kaprizov and now Quinn Hughes, you are a legitimate playoff contender and potential Stanley Cup contender. And this is the type of stuff that you make a move on to make it to the Stanley Cup final. There's
Oh, yeah.
no other decision that drives this. Why did Billy Guerin have a shot at Quinn Hughes? Well, Bill Guerin is also the GM of Team USA Hockey. Okay. And the question mark is at the end of the season, is Quinn Hughes going to try and play with his brothers? And ultimately, like, I don't know anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
Listen, we never saw all three Stahl brothers together,
Yep.
which is fine. We
Yep.
saw two of them together in two different settings,
Yep.
right? Eric and Jordan, and then Jordan and Mark, I think, for a second, potentially. I just can't remember. But ultimately, like, what a great move by Minnesota. An equally good move by Vancouver. Although I always find it interesting when an organization can't build around their captain. But
Right. It's
look at
wild.
what we're seeing in Buffalo, right? Like you might have to move Rasmus Dahlin at some point now.
Yep.
I didn't think it was that dire in Vancouver, but over the last 2 years, you're kind of like, wait, you guys were really good 3 years ago. Then you had to fire your coach. You had to get rid of JT Miller. Now you
Yeah.
got rid of Quinn Hughes, and you're like, wow, what's
What's
in
going
the
on?
water? That's
Yeah.
bad.
Oh, yeah. And I think that's a big part of it. It's like you're talking about the talent that is good enough, and now you're fire sailing the entire organization. And what I've understood this as, Rocky, is Quinn Hughes kind of just made it really known, I ain't re-signing here. Like it heated up the last 6 months where it's like, you got to get me out of here before I leave as a free agent, because it ain't going to happen as a
This
reason.
dysfunctional culture is just the detriment to all professional hockey teams,
Yeah, that's 100%.
all
Well,
professional sports teams.
and by the way, the Vancouver Canucks gave up 3 first-round draft picks in the name of Marco Rossi, Liam Ogren, and Zeev Brun, or Boone, whatever you say that name.
Yeah, it
Apparently
looks
these
like
dudes are
Rossi and Boone are going to be the
like
two
good.
big takeaways there. And you got a first round pick, Rossi centerman, Zev a defenseman. So you've got to be like again, like if your job is to rebuild the Vancouver Canucks and you've got two young NHLers that have a long runway and promise. I mean, that's a great move. So I think on both sides, based on where each franchise is great. And if I'm a general manager one day, like this is the type of trade I would want to make. Like
Yeah.
I want to make a big splash as the GM. Like that's what I would want, you know?
Yeah. And not do it in the way of Nico Harrison, who got fired from the Mavericks 8 months later because it was clear and obvious you got fleeced in this. By the way, before Rocky rants to finish the show here, because we have a hard stop at 7 a.m. so I can be on time to my supporting of my beautiful fiance. Cale Makar, since 2022, is the number 1 defenseman in the league with 372 points. Right behind him with 336 is Quinn Hughes. Just to put it into perspective on how legitimate, and by the way, how good Cale Makar is, by the way, which I don't know if people even realize sometimes as well.
Literally like the next best defenseman in the league. He's the number 1 defenseman by all US born skaters. I mean, let's be serious.
Let's be serious. Rocky ran for us to finish.
I don't know what is wrong with New York sports teams and their
Ugh.
players' ability to get to a meeting on time. Mika Zibanejad misses a meeting and has to sit again. Why can't players in New York get to their meetings on time? What is with my favorite sports teams that this level of dysfunction is so commonplace? I am so close to retiring my fanship and being a fan of the sport and literally I'm so happy that I'm training Rock to love the sport as a whole because I had a Ducks jersey. I found like, dude, let's wear the Ducks jersey, right? We went to the Toronto, like, well, let's wear a Blue Jays hat. Like, I don't care. We're going to be fans of everyone. Who are
Yeah,
you cheering in this game? I'm cheering for the Lightning in this game. Who are you
it ain't
cheering in
worth
this
it.
game? I'm cheering for the Wild because I love Matt Zuccarello. I cannot take my sports teams and the players' inability to make a meeting on time. Mika Zibanejad has one of the longest standing contracts. He's in the Rangers organization till 2030. And Artemi Panarin, his UFA is up at the end of the year. And for the long time, I was ready to part ways with Artemi Panarin, but I am at the point where I want to flip flop contracts. Mika Zibanejad, I need to see you leave because your long hair, which I used to love, and your demeanor is really getting on my nerves right now because you're a dash 15 on dash 22 on the season with, excuse me, you're dash 8 with 25 points, which means you're playing a ton of minutes. How do you have 25 points on the year, still dash 8? Last year you had 62 points and dash 22. I need you to be the 91 point guy with a plus 25. That's what I need you to be. And you are nowhere near it right now. And it's driving me crazy.
It's a great point, Rocky.
Oh,
New York sports are a mess right now. We are up against it right now because I really do have to get out of here. I appreciate that energy to finish this show today because right now in New York sports, it is really, really bad. It's bad. Rocky Romanella, everyone, fantastic.
soccer. Thank you. Thank you, crowd. Thank the
Rocky, we
crowd.
will see you next week. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Rome Show today on a Wednesday. You guys have a fantastic hump day. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 7:05 with another giveaway. I know, that's so exciting. You get excited as well. Andrew Romanella, peace!